Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's I'm going to be reviewing the 200 series Land Cruiser, and this is the first iteration of the 200 series. I'm interested to see how well this thing holds up because this has some miles, and I'm also interested to see if the first iteration isn't as good as the version that I own, which is a 2020 200 series. Before we get into this video, I want to give a huge shout out and thank you to the Larry Miller Toyota here in Murray for giving me some time with this 200 series. Link to their website in the description down below. Link to my car buying guide too. Let's get into it. Powering this is a 5.7 liter V8 that goes through a 6-speed automatic. The first iteration of the 200 series has the 6-speed. The second iteration that I have has the 8-speed. I'll see how it compares in today's video. 381 horsepower, 401 pound-feet of torque. And from conversations with people, it seems like this first version of the 200 series gets a little bit less fuel economy. So you can expect to average like 13, 14 miles per gallon, whereas I'm getting like 15, 16 in mine. Before we move forward with this review, I do want to mention if you want to see more videos just like this, then I recommend you subscribe because I post content every single day. So taking a look at the hood raised there on either side, and I will say closing the hood still sounds solid as ever. Now the one downside about the first iteration of the 200 series is it's ugly. I know that Doug Miro said that he thinks this looks better than the second iteration. I don't know what he's talking about. The headlights just, yeah, they don't do it for me. The grill's not bad. Grill actually looks really nice, and the fog lights in the bottom bumper here, again, that's the other part where it just looks, it kind of looks like a chipmunk in a way. It's just got like fat cheeks. It's kind of weird. Tire wheel setup is 285 by 60 by 18 in the front and over in the rear, and although these wheels aren't the fanciest looking on the planet, see they've held up really well over the years. We've got fixed running boards there. Never liked that chrome trim on the Land Cruiser, but that's why you get a Heritage Edition. Don't have to have that anyways. Here's your side profile. And this is where you can see it's very similar, especially in the rear, to the second iteration. Now this leads us to the key fob, and I actually liked this iteration of Toyota's key fobs. It has a kind of like more solid feel than some of the newer ones. But yeah, basically just lock and unlock, pretty straightforward on that. And then, oh, I guess it's manual. Maybe it's turned off with the power check up front. But yeah, this is a cool thing with the Land Cruiser. Love it in mine, having this whole setup, and then the third row being popped up as well. Great cargo space here in the back. You can fit tons of stuff. The Land Cruiser, if you don't know, is just barely bigger than a 5th gen 4Runner. It's like, I think like 3 inches in overall length, so it's not that big of a difference. And then that's up. Yeah, there's no power. I think this is just completely manual with this one because I'm not noticing any buttons. And then these taillights, again, this is what definitely dates this version of the 200 series. But the overall silhouette's nice looking. It's just the lights that make it look older. Now the interior is the most impressive part. So this is over 10 years old, has about 100,000 miles, and it still looks brand spanking new. I mean, there's gonna be some wear that's gonna show, but I mean, look at this. You do not get this with cars built after 2020. Seriously. See a little net there. You've got the vents here. Heated seats for the rear. You got the climate controls, and just, yeah, this stuff feels great, super solid, and this one has the TV in the back, funny enough. But yeah, super nice. And this continues up front. I mean, just look at how solid all of the trim is. The driver's side's gonna have the most wear. Got your memory seats, all of your window controls. Let's see a quick look at the mirrors. And then let's see what the capacities are on this. So 1295 for the payload, 7385 for the gross vehicle weight rating. Now driver's seat, again, always has the most wear. And you can see down here how that's starting to come up just a little bit. But other than that, I mean, everything else looks new. Steering wheel's power adjustable. You can see we've got a center differential lock. We've got your heated steering wheel, stability control. It's interesting how some of these buttons that are here, are like the center diff lock, are in the center with the later iteration. So taking a look at the steering wheel, we've got nice wood trim, and again, the sides of the steering wheel have also held up exceptionally well. We got some practical controls here in the front. Look how big the font is on everything. All of your stocks and everything, and the cruise control stock too. So here's a gauge cluster, mostly analog. You can change what it shows with the display. Nice little setup, let you know what gear you're in, and then you can see just under 100,000 miles on this one. Backup camera in reverse. This isn't going to have the fancy 360 that the newer ones have. But yeah, the infotainment system actually doesn't look too different compared to mine. I mean, the buttons here on the side are definitely different. Got all of your climate controls here. This is to pop it into 4-wheel drive low. And then you can see, oh, kind of like storage area. And then for the seats. And then we've got our crawl control and everything, trail turn assist all built into that. Shifter with a wood trim looks pretty nice. I actually kind of like this, and again, it seems like it's held up pretty well over the years. And then this has the cool refrigerator center console. Nice trim. And this does the same thing my center console does, where it's got a little wiggle there on the side, so it's not just me. We've got our rear view mirror, sunroof up top, a nice headliner as well. Let's see how this thing performs. So the first iteration of the 200 series, and it's crazy the price difference. I mean, once you go 2016 and above with the 200 series, the refresh versions, I mean, if it's got higher mileage, then the prices will be lower, but yeah, the lower mileage ones, they're expensive. Like sub 100,000 miles like this, and I've seen them still over $70,000 for the asking price. So yeah, it's not like it's cheap. And I will say right off the bat, the suspension in this doesn't feel any less comfortable than mine. Feels completely the same. And although the steering wheel trim's different than mine, the steering doesn't feel any different. Now I will say the engine isn't quite as smooth. So I can, and they didn't, right, it's the same engine, right? It's the 5.7 in both of them. I do think the transmission makes a difference. I noticed this, we have a Sequoia that has the 6-speed. I noticed that in the Sequoia too. The engine just not as smooth. And it doesn't seem like there's as much insulation in this. Like I can hear the engine more, which is kind of weird. But yeah, it's hard to explain unless you've driven a newer 200 series like what I have. It has this like smooth kind of just rolling forward, and with the accelerator, and the RPM stay super low. This, it goes up, like I'm noticing. It's not bad. It's still incredibly smooth. The RPM just go higher, and it's a little bit louder. Yeah, the engine just isn't quite as smooth. But we're comparing two of the best vehicles, so the handling's not all that different. And I will say there's a little bit of squeaking in the interior, but it's not. I have no music on or anything. If you have any sort of music on, this is stuff you're not going to hear. But overall, it feels very tight. Yeah, suspension's incredibly comfortable. I mean, this is so close to mine in terms of how it drives. I will say that, again, like I said, the 2016 Plus, they're a little bit more refined. They are a little bit better, but we're talking small increments. I would say that this is more than comfortable enough. This gauge cluster is crazy with how far it sticks out, by the way. So to sum things up here with this, the first iteration of the 200 series, and just buying because a lot of people are looking at these Land Cruisers now. I think I obviously, like, it's not just me, it's a lot of people talking about them because they're such good cars. And I don't think that these Land Cruisers would be as popular if the new cars weren't such garbage. Like, everything post 2020 is so crappy. I just don't understand what automakers are thinking with some of these cars they're releasing. So if you can get past the looks, right? I think those of you that just are okay with the ugly front end and the taillights that don't look quite as cool, and I'm sure you could do aftermarket lights that would make this look better. If you can get past the looks, and ooh, is that who I think it is? I gotta show this to you guys. So I don't know if this is still owned by the person, but that looks like, yeah, yep, that is it. So if you guys don't know, the Millers are even though they don't own the Larry Miller Group anymore, very, very wealthy family from owning the dealership group. Yeah, Heritage. I bet that's his. That's one of Greg Miller's Land Cruisers. This is a random thing in the video. If you people that know Land Cruisers know Greg Miller. So this like hurts my soul. It's also really cool. So these things went all over the world, from what I understand. You actually see that the frame is dirty. It doesn't look like it's, it might be rusted, but it also has mud covering all of it. But so he took like 5 Heritage Edition Land Cruisers, right? The rarest version of the Land Cruiser. And he actually blacked out the wheels, or grayed them out. Anyways, he took 5 of these and did this with cutting them in half. It's like he could have done it to like any version of the Land Cruiser, but of course you had to do the Heritage. Still, that's a cool vehicle for us to be able to see in this Land Cruiser video. It's weird. That's weird looking, but great expedition vehicle, right? So as I was saying with this, if you can get past the looks, amazing car. And this, I mean, again, this at 100,000 miles drives better, has a nicer interior, and even though it got a little bit of squeaking, like, let me tell you, these plasticky cars nowadays, they do a lot more than that. It's crazy. This is over 10 years old. It's got 100,000 miles and it drives better than the new stuff. So it's cool. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you'd rather get the first version or the second version. But I mean, this, if you're open to this, save you a ton of money. I mean, this one's just over 40 grand. And so that versus, you know, $70,000+ for a newer version with the 8-speed automatic. I mean, it's one of those things where if you're okay with an ugly car, you can save a lot of money.